paralyzed with fear.
Hey there, and welcome to Deep Cuts, a show all about horror, the occult, the supernatural, the weird, and the mysterious. As ever, I'm your host, Bitter Karella, and this here is the weird. And this is the cool skeleton that adds visual interest to our set. Now this week, we've got a special treat for you. In fact, we've got 3 of them. It's a Triptych of Terror, you might say. All sorts of weird little films that cover everything from the bygone days of the Middle Ages all to the modern era of internet creepypasta. And we've got it all coming up. And after that, we've got a special new segment for the show, a little something to help you guys all at home make your lives a little less awful in this hell world that we all share. I should probably stop eating green stuff on screen. Our first film is all about a little something you folks might have seen in your local, Hot Topic, possibly. It is one of these things. One of these cool bird masks you've probably seen around. You've probably seen it and be like, wow, I'd love to be a cool bird, like for Halloween or, something like that. So yeah, well, guess what? It's not a cool bird. Well, it is. This is a genuine plague doctor mask. And when I say genuine, I mean not genuine. It's not real at all. I bought it from Hot Topic, but it is based on the design of a plague doctor's mask, because back in the old days of yore, when the Black Death first came to Europe, no one really knew back then how disease spread. No one had a microscope, no one saw germs or anything, and the going theory was miasma, meaning that germs, or rather sickness, spread through smell, which kind of makes sense in some way if you think about it, because bad smells associated with bad things. Yeah, there's a little bit of logic to that. So a plague doctor, when he was out in the field treating patients, would fill the nose cone of his mask with, cloves and potpourri and sweet-smelling things in order to not smell the bad miasma that would cause him to contract the illness. And it had the side effect of, looking pretty cool. The actual plague doctor masks weren't this elaborate and tricked out, of course. They looked more like doofy kiwis, but, you just put it on and, check me out. I'm a doctor. And that's actually, that brings up a good point. If you were a medieval peasant and your village was being ravaged by the plague, and some dude showed up in one of these masks, you'd probably think, oh, thank God, we are saved. Finally, expert help is here. But as we're going to see, that's not always the case. You don't really know who's behind that mask. So please join us for The Plague Bearers, brought to us courtesy of Zoe Moss from Burbank, California. Now, we couldn't get the glasses on, but if there was a way to get the... Yeah, kinda. So that was The Plague Bearers, and that was brought to us by Zoe Moss. Now, Zoe is actually a professional animator, and you've probably seen her work elsewhere. She has worked on such series as China, Illinois, BoJack Horseman, Mighty Magiswords, and most recently, the Cuphead animated series. You can see her own work at her website, brainfarto.com, which, if I've learned how to add words to stuff, is probably going to appear here or somewhere on the screen so that you can check it out. Now, our next film deals with another perennial favorite among horror fans, and that is demonic possession. You've probably heard of a little film called Paranormal Activity, the movie they spent 5 seconds thinking of a title for. And that is a movie about kind of a jerk and an idiot who live together and, I don't know, get scared of a ghost or something. It's kind of, yeah. Well, this movie is way better. It's called Normal Activity. It involves a young couple who suddenly find themselves dealing with some strange entity in their house. It comes to us from Tim Heydrich and Jennifer Albright of Los Angeles, California, so please check out Normal Activity.
Yo, what up? Rolling in my 6.4. This is test 1 of our new HD video camera. Spent like $4 on this thing, so it better fucking work. I got it because some weird shit's been happening to Kizzy lately, and I thought we'd just record it. So, just to try and find out what's going on. Hey, speaking of...
Hey.
Hi, babe. I got
Hi.
that new video camera.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah, so we can record like all that freaky shit that's been happening to you.
This just better not end up on YouTube, alright?
Nah, I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, so I'm just gonna record our lives like for the next few days or so. Just like record everything. I mean, no matter how trivial or dull, just put his paws on the keyboard.
I keep telling you, he doesn't want to do it.
Alright, we are rolling on night 1. We are going to catch this puss-ass ghost and find out just what the hell is going on here. Because I am not gonna have some faggot-ass ghost invading this place, invading my fucking house, 'cause I am the man. If he comes in here, if he tries anything, oh, I'm going to fuck him up. Do you understand? I don't think it's ready for this. This fucking ghost, this faggot-ass ghost is in for so much pain, and these sheets are in for 2 if they don't get off my ass. Night. Love you, honey. Alright, hey Kizzy. First night. I think we already got some great stuff here. Check this out. Look, there's an EVP that I managed to record from what we were doing last night here. Look, listen to this. See, this is right when like the sheets moved right behind you.
I think we should stop this. This is getting really dangerous.
What do you mean?
I keep telling you, I see this black figure at the foot of the bed, and he keeps calling my name.
Look, if any ghost gets in here, I'm going to kick his faggot ass. I'm gonna rape that fucking ghost.
How are you gonna rape a ghost?
Look, I have a plan. Alright, night 2. I think it's going really well. What do you think, babe? Alright. Hey, you know, even if we don't get any footage of the ghost, we can always make a really hot sex tape.
No!
Oh.
I'm withholding sex from you until you get rid of that thing.
Fine.
Hey, Mishka. What you doing?
I think got some kick-ass footage last night. We're gonna catch that ghost queer.
Oh yeah, there's something moving there.
No, that isn't anything.
Well, that looks like something.
Look at, just ignore it. That is. Let me just fast forward through this part. Just turn the camera off. You are being so unfair. You get to do whatever you want to do.
I told Michael that we would meet them at the Olive Garden at 8 o'clock.
I don't ever get to play.
They said, you can play it at any time.
I want to play WoW. Stay behind me. I'm gonna find out what the fuck this is. Stay behind. Holy living mother of shit.
Oh my God.
Wait a fucking minute. Chocolate sauce.
What would write blood on the wall and chocolate sauce?
Yeah, turn on the light. See, that's what he's doing in there. Trying to make it all sissy pretty, redecorating. That's what they do. That's what their kind loves to do. These some kind of ghosts. You know what kind I'm talking about. They want to lower the property values so more of their kind can move in. And then they can have their own little faggot ghost ghetto. I bet they'd love that, because you know they can't make more of themselves. They can't reproduce, if you know what I mean. So that's why they try to convert us. But I bet if any ghost tries to fuck with me, I am going to rape that fucking ghost. You're not getting me. I will fuck that ghost up. The ass. I'm not gay. ghost is stealing our camera.
And welcome back. That was Normal Activity from Tim Heydrich and Jennifer Albright of Los Angeles. Now, Tim is actually a filmmaker and comedian in his own right. He's creator of the web series Assignment Unexplained, and you can see his work at his website, timtoon.com. Tim is also co-author of the graphic novel Misunderstanding Comics with someone else who you guys might know. Oh, me. It's a good novel. Therefore, of course. Jennifer is a cartoonist and the thing that draws, I forgot what it's called. Storyboard artist. She's a storyboard artist. And you can see her work at her website, trickunicorn.com. Tim and Jennifer also collaborate together on the podcast Have You Seen This?, which is the internet's only podcast about misbegotten, obscure, and terrible films. Check that out. Now, our last film comes to us from Easy Poshman of Fresno, California, and it's a bit of found footage. Easy discovered this and decided to share it with us because it's a little interesting. It kind of makes you think about the world we live in and what it's all about. It's called The Game of Mush, so check that out.
Welcome to the Game of Mush. This fast-paced, exciting game pits player against player in multiple challenges at once. Observation, integration, bluffing, and deconstruction. There's thrill and tension in every round, whether you're a seasoned player with many high scores under your belt, or a new player who wants to see what all the fuss is about. Even casual observers and curious onlookers get caught up in the action of the Game of Mush. Now, if you're a fan of the Game of Mush, you know my voice. I'm the 3-time champion. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce you to one of my friends. This is Mr. Stellar. Hi, Mr. Stellar. Mr. Stellar is going to be your guide through the world of the Game of Mush. The first round will begin shortly after this video. Get ready for some very exciting challenges. Let's talk equipment. Maybe you've got a favorite piece of sporting equipment you like to use for good luck, or something new you received as a gift and can't wait to try out. Sorry, you're going to have to leave them at home. Only equipment provided during play may be used. No supplies, tools, or weapons may be brought onto the playing field. You gotta be fair. Let's go over the first few rounds of play. Here's a handy tip. Always start small when entering the playing field. You don't want the non-players to notice you right away, after all. If you aren't sure how to limit yourself, observe the non-players and try to expand at the same rate. Don't ask them for help, though. During the first round, non-players do not speak. Begin to introduce small words in the second round, but always limit vocabulary among non-players. Each round will last 1 year. Don't worry if you didn't remember to pack a lunch. Refreshments will be served regularly in the early rounds. Do not take more than you're served, though. That might attract the attention of the non-players. There's 3 keys to success during the early rounds. Observe, observe, and observe. During the opening rounds, it is imperative to learn to imitate and integrate with the non-players. Talking to other players, however, is discouraged until the 18th round. What's so special about the 18th round? Well, that's when the game really begins, because that's when scoring begins. When the 18th round begins, you must use all that you've observed, all that you've learned, to outdo your opponents. There are 3 different ways that you can score points. Let's go over them now. The first one is to make connections. Now that you're an expert on the non-players, you can start forming emotional attachments with them. Whenever a non-player forms an emotional attachment to you, you can score 1 point in each round for each connection you maintained. These come in many different and entertaining categories: marriages, friendships, rivalries, employment, and many others. Try to discover some that the other players don't know. The second way to score points is severance. Once you've gotten a handle on making emotional connections, you can try breaking them. You can sever the connections between non-players for 5 points each. Now, these do not continue building points between rounds, but most players score the majority of their points that way. It's the fun part. But wait, if all of a non-player's connections are severed, there's no more opportunities to score points with them, right? That's true. But once a non-player's connections have all been severed, they may be safely consumed, to whatever extent you find them most pleasurable. Leftovers may be discreetly discarded, or used as a prop for further severance. As an alternative to consumption, though, non-players with all connections severed and no further scoring opportunities may instead be brought to the mush pot. This results in a bigger purse for the victor. Now, the final way to score points is through the completion of the game. The 21st scoring round, that's the 39th round total, is a race to the home base. We will announce the location of the home base during that final round. Upon arrival at the home base, each player will receive points equal to the number of other players still on the playing field. So if there are 10 players and you're the first, guess what? That's 9 extra points. Now that you know all the rules, I'll bet you can't wait to get out there and score some points, right? Well, there are a lot of subtleties to this game. Let's go over a few of them. To maintain your status as a high-ranking player in the game, it's good to layer your assumed statuses. It's not enough to merely pretend to be any old non-player, because non-players believe themselves to come in a lot of different varieties. The player must also pretend to be part of these various groups that the non-players are grouped into, however they decide. Once you've chosen a group, stick to it. Non-players will always know if you've forgotten which group you were in. Try to stick to simplistic, easy-to-remember groups like hobbies or religion. Properly attending to your assumed status will assist in making connections. Now, another popular strategy is to form a team with another player, doubling your social advantage in the creation of connections. But connections with other players, such as marriages, do not contribute to your score, but they still often benefit scoring for both players. But don't forget, you are competing here, so don't feel you need to match them point for point. Once you're in the scoring rounds, it may be hard to figure out which kinds of non-players offer the most scoring opportunities. There's one thing to remember in this department: go for the loners. The fewer connections somebody already has, the better their scoring opportunities are. If you see someone who looks lonely, try becoming their friend. Or go for the gold and eliminate what friends they do have. The game of mush is all about the mush pot. But the quickest way to end up in the mush pot yourself is to reveal your status as a player to the non-players. Any of these situations will disqualify you as a player, and you will be forced to go to the mush pot. 1. Being discovered and revealed by non-players. 2. Revealing another player to non-players. 3. Consuming another player. 4. The use of contraband material from outside the playing field to tools, weapons, and supplies. Number 5, forgetting you're a player. Yeah, you say you never would, but you'd be surprised how many players forget. Just like in any sport, there are hazards to watch out for in the game of Mush. Let's go over a few of them. Number 1, do not forget that you're a player. When you encounter another player that you may not have seen for a while, it's a good idea to give them a simple identification test just to make sure that they still know who they are. Players who fail this test will be removed from the game, and that means less competition for you. Number 2, do not consume non-players anywhere you may be observed by other non-players. However, you may feel free to enjoy it in the company of the other players. Sharing is caring. Number 3, avoid non-standard non-players. As you may have noticed already, some non-players come in very different shapes. You can recognize them by their strange coats of hair or feathers or other unusual features. Despite this, normal non-players may build connections to them. However, forming a connection with a non-standard non-player will not add to your score, nor will severing its connections, and consuming one may draw undue attention and threaten your score. If you have been outed or removed from the game, you must go to the mush pot. This includes any reason that you may have been removed, including being discovered, revealing another player, or forgetting that you yourself are a player. Disqualified players who remain on the playing field are a major threat to the rest of the players. Number 5. If any reproductive act is performed by players, either with fellow players or with non-players, the results of said act will be remanded to the mush pot upon end of play. So don't get too attached. Number 6. Neither players nor non-players may leave the mush pot. You're now part of the purse. Well, that was a little grim, wasn't it, Mr. Stellar? Let's talk about something fun. Winning. During the 21st round, the location of the home base will be announced. The players must enter the home base during the 21st turn to complete the game. When all remaining players have returned to home base, the points will be totaled. You get 1 point per connection per year that you maintained that connection. 5 points for every severed connection. And a big 10 points for every non-player that you either manage to consume or add to the mush pot. And the player with the highest score is the winner. Sometimes there are special cases. If all other players are disqualified before the 21st turn, the last player still engaged with non-players, whether they make it to home base or not, is the winner. On the other hand, players still on the playing field at the beginning of the 22nd turn will be remanded to the mush pot. Ooh boy, this is your favorite part too, isn't it, Mr. Stellar? Uh-huh. The lucky winner with the most points is gifted the entire contents of the salty, stewy, noisy, ooey gooey, lovey dovey, pushy, shovey, slushy, gushy mush pot. This winner usually chooses to sit out the next game to enjoy their prize. But, if desired, this winner may add the contents of this mush pot to the next and return to the playing field for the next game. Because after all, the more rounds you play, the more the mush itself grows and grows. Now that you know just how addictive the game of Mush is, I'll bet you can't wait to play again. Maybe you want to try and beat your high score, or maybe you just gotta get your hands on that mush for yourself if you didn't win the first time. But if you'd like to play the game again, here's the contact information where you can get started on your next round. OBGYN, 1067 Fresno, California, 93 Suite 20. And that's all the time we've got. But you don't want to sit here watching, you want to play, right? Well, good news, because the game of mush has just begun. I'm and this is Mr. Stellar wishing you happy mushing!
Oh, whoa. That was the game of Mush by Easy Poshman. Easy is also known as The Hungry Reader, and you can check out his work at thehungryreader.com, where he reviews and analyzes young adult literature and sometimes other literature as well. I particularly enjoy his deep dives of L. Frank Baum's Oz series, which are very interesting and a lot of fun. Easy also collaborates with me on another podcast, which is called No, it's not called that. In fact, it's called A Special Presentation, or Alf Will Not Be Seen Tonight, and that is all about comic strips of the 80s and 90s getting turned into animated or puppet or live action features or TV series, and how those things compare. So that is A Special Presentation, which of course I would have a vested interest in saying, maybe check out. But now, well, hey, those were our 3 films, and you hear that sound? I sure don't, but I assume I probably added something in post to indicate we're starting a brand new segment right now, a little something I've decided to call Hex for Trainables. Must be the season of the witch, yeah. We all know that the world we live in is a hard world, and it's getting harder every day. Things just keep getting worse and worse, and you're probably wondering, how can I make it through life alone? Wouldn't it be great if I had a little friend in my corner, a little friend who could help me out and make things go just a little smoother day to day? Well, you do have someone in your corner, or something I should rather say, and that is magic. That's right, we're going to be teaching you in this new segment a few little tips and tricks and spells and charms to help you make your everyday life go a little bit smoother. And these are just simple things that you can do with stuff you have around the house, but makes a real difference in your life. And for our first episode, we're going to keep things really simple, but we're going to talk about something that everyone likes and everyone can agree is good. True love. We all love that, right? I love it. You love it. The cool skeleton probably does. I'll assume so by his silence on this topic. But you've probably got some, special someone in your head that you're thinking of that you'd really like to make an impression on. And we've got a spell today that will help you do just that. Now, I know what you're thinking. Oh, love charms? That's a little a little problematic, isn't it? I don't want to mess with anyone's, consent or free will or anything like that. Well, don't worry about this one. This spell, it's a light spell. It does not involve any sort of brain finagling. It's just something to help make someone give you a second glance. Now, you yourself still have to do all the heavy lifting of making sure that they realize that you're worth that second glance they gave you. But this is good for getting your foot in the door. And it only requires 2 items. One, a flower pot. Now, flower pot should be full of dirt, of course, and the dirt can be any old dirt, doesn't matter. Of course, good growing soil is best. The pot itself, though, has to be a virgin pot, meaning that it has never been used for planting before. So first time planting. The other thing you're going to need is some sort of bulb root. Now, a lot of people prefer tulips because of the associations between flower and love. I personally prefer using an onion because I feel like the pungency of the onion gives a love charm a little more potency and zest. Now, some people prefer white onions or green onions. I like the yellow onions because they're the cheapest. So here's your spell. Very easy. You just take your onion, you dig a little hole here in your pot, and you plant the onion in the pot. Now, as you're planting, you do need to recite a very specific incantation. First, you're going to say your true love's name 3 times. So, blank, blank, blank. And then, as you're burying your onion, you're going to recite the following sloka. As this root grows, as this blossom blows, may her or his or their heart be turned unto me. You got that? Very simple charm. This comes to us from the Irish travelers who made it to England, and this is where that spell was recorded. You will have to do the incantation every day as the bulb is growing, and the more the bulb blossoms, the more your true love's eye will find its way to you. So that is a very simple little charm to help you, just, get some attention, hopefully, in life. We'll be dealing with some other spells next time, maybe do things a little more complicated, but I think this is a good starter one. So that's all the time we have that's all the time we have together this week on Deep Cuts, but join us next time. We'll have some more great films for you, as well as some more little spells you can do. Until then, enjoy your mortal coils.
Ghostbuster.